Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Learn English with Podcast. I'm Nikki.
And I'm Tony. We're so happy to have you with us today. We hope you're ready for another fun and educational episode.
Today, we're diving into Common Expressions Part 3. This is going to be great. We've got 8 new expressions to share with you.
That's right, Nikki. Learning common expressions is really important. They help you sound more natural when speaking English, and they can also make conversations much easier and more fun.
Yes, using these expressions can make you sound like a native speaker. Plus, they are used in everyday conversations. So knowing them will help you understand others better, too.
Absolutely, and don't worry, we're going to explain each expression clearly and give you lots of examples.
We'll also have some dialogue so you can hear how these expressions are used in real conversations. It's going to be a lot of fun.
So, let's get started. Our first 2 expressions for today are better late than never and call it a day.
These are very common expressions, and you'll hear them a lot. Let's talk about the first one, better late than never.
This expression means that it's better to do something late than not to do it at all. For example, if you arrive late to a meeting, you can say, better late than never.
That's a good one, Tony. I remember one time, I forgot my friend's birthday. I called her the next day and said, "Happy birthday, better late than never." She laughed and said it was okay.
That's a perfect example, Nikki. And our second expression is call it a day.
Yes, call it a day means to stop working for the day. If you've been working hard and you're tired, you might say, let's call it a day.
Exactly. I remember last week we were recording this podcast, and after a few hours, we were so tired. I said, Nikki, let's call it a day. And we went for ice cream instead.
Yes, that was a great idea. Sometimes you just need to relax.
So, those are our first 2 expressions. Now, let's hear a dialogue using better late than never and call it a day.
Listen carefully and see if you can spot the expressions.
Hi, Tom. You're here. I thought you weren't coming.
Hi, Sarah. Sorry I'm late. Better late than never, right?
True. We're glad you made it. We've been working on this project all afternoon.
Wow, sounds intense. How's it going?
We're almost done, but we're all pretty tired.
Maybe it's time to call it a day?
Yeah, I think you're right. Let's call it a day and finish this tomorrow.
Good idea. Let's clean up and head out.
Perfect. I'm ready for a break.
Me too. Better late than never to take a break, right?
Exactly. Let's go.
Great. So in that dialogue, you heard better late than never and call it a day.
Yes, Tom used better late than never when he arrived late, and Sarah suggested they call it a day because they were tired.
These expressions are really useful in everyday conversations. So try to use them when you can.
And remember, it's better late than never to start using these expressions.
Haha, very funny, Tony. Now, let's move on to our next 2 expressions.
Catch someone's eye and cut to the chase.
Let's start with catch someone's eye. This expression means to attract someone's attention.
Exactly. For example, if you're at a party and you see someone interesting, you might say, that person really caught my eye.
Yes, or if you're shopping and see a beautiful dress, you could say, that dress caught my eye.
Oh, I remember last weekend. I was walking down the street and a new coffee shop caught my eye. I went in and had the best coffee ever.
Haha, Tony and his coffee. That's a great example. Now, let's talk about cut to the chase.
Cut to the chase means to get to the point quickly without wasting time on unnecessary details.
Right. If someone is talking a lot and you want them to get to the main point, you might say, "Can you cut to the chase?"
I remember once we were in a meeting and someone was talking for a long time about nothing important. Finally, our boss said, "Let's cut to the chase and talk about the main issue."
Haha, I remember that. It was a very long meeting until our boss cut to the chase. Now, let's listen to a dialogue using catch someone's eye and cut to the chase.
Listen closely and see if you can hear the expressions.
Hey, did you see the new art gallery downtown?
Yes, I walked by yesterday. One of the paintings really caught my eye.
Oh, which one?
The one with the bright colors and abstract shapes. It was amazing.
I'll have to check it out. Anyway, about our project, let's cut to the chase.
Sure, what's the main issue we need to solve?
We need to finalize the budget. Everything else is ready.
Got it. How much more do we need?
We're short by $500. Any ideas?
Let's look at the expenses again and see where we can save.
Good idea. Let's cut to the chase and do that now.
Okay, I'll get the budget sheet.
Great. I think we can find a solution.
Excellent. In that dialogue, you heard catch someone's eye and cut to the chase.
Yes, John used catch my eye to talk about the painting, and Anna used cut to the chase to get to the main issue.
These expressions are very useful, especially in conversations about work or when you want to describe something that got your attention.
Absolutely. And remember, when you want to get to the point, just cut to the chase.
Very true, Tony. Now, let's move on to our next expressions. Easier said than done and get out of hand. Let's start with easier said than done. This expression means that something is easy to talk about but hard to actually do.
Yes, for example, if someone says, just study for 1 hour every day, you might reply, that's easier said than done, because it's hard to find the time.
Exactly. I remember trying to wake up early every day to exercise. I told myself, it's just waking up early. But it was easier said than done.
I know what you mean, Nikki. Now, let's talk about get out of hand.
Get out of hand means something becomes difficult to control. For example, if a party gets very loud and wild, you can say, the party got out of hand.
Oh, I remember a meeting last year where everyone started arguing. It really got out of hand.
Yes, that was a crazy meeting. So, those are our next two expressions. Now, let's listen to a dialogue using easier said than done and get out of hand.
Listen closely and see if you can hear the expressions.
Hey, do you want to run a marathon with me next month?
A marathon? That sounds fun, but it's easier said than done. I haven't been training.
True, training is hard, but we can start together.
I don't know. Last time I tried to run every day, it got out of hand.
What happened?
I ended up getting too tired and stopped after a week.
Maybe we can make a simple plan this time?
That might work. Let's try not to let it get out of hand again.
Okay, let's start with short runs. Easier said than done, but we can do it.
All right, let's give it a shot.
Great. We'll keep each other motivated.
Yes, let's do this.
Excellent. In that dialogue, you heard easier said than done and get out of hand.
Yes, Maria used easier said than done to talk about running a marathon and get out of hand to describe their previous attempt at training.
These expressions are very useful, especially when talking about challenges or things that are hard to control.
Absolutely. And remember, some things are easier said than done, but it's important not to let them get out of hand.
Ha ha, very true, Tony. Now, let's move on to our next expressions. Go back to the drawing board, and it's not rocket science. Let's start with go back to the drawing board. This expression means to start over because the current plan isn't working.
Yes. For example, if you're building something and it doesn't work, you might say, we need to go back to the drawing board and try again.
Exactly. I remember we once tried to record an episode without planning, and it was a disaster. We had to go back to the drawing board and plan it out.
That's a great example, Nikki. Now let's talk about it's not rocket science.
It's not rocket science means something is not very difficult to understand. If someone is struggling with something simple, you can say, come on, it's not rocket science.
I remember trying to teach my friend how to use a new phone app. He kept saying it was too hard and I said, it's not rocket science.
Yes. Sometimes people just need a little encouragement. So, those are our next two expressions. Now, let's listen to a dialogue using go back to the drawing board and it's not rocket science.
Listen closely and see if you can hear the expressions.
Hey, did you finish the presentation for tomorrow?
I did, but I don't think it's good enough. We might need to go back to the drawing board.
Oh, no, what's wrong with it?
It's too complicated. I think we need to simplify it.
All right, let's go back to the drawing board and make it better.
Yes, let's start with the main points and add details later.
Good idea. It's not rocket science, we just need a clear plan.
Exactly. We can make it simple and effective.
All right, let's get started. It's not rocket science, but we need to focus.
Agreed. We'll get it done in no time.
Perfect. Let's work on it now.
I'm ready. Let's do this.
Great. In that dialogue, you heard go back to the drawing board and it's not rocket science.
Yes. Oscar used go back to the drawing board when their presentation wasn't good enough, and both used it's not rocket science to encourage simplicity.
These expressions are very useful, especially when things don't go as planned or when you need to reassure someone.
Absolutely. And remember, if something doesn't work out, don't be afraid to go back to the drawing board. And if it's simple, just remind yourself it's not rocket science.
Very true, Tony. Now, it's time to review the 8 common expressions we've learned today.
That's right, Nikki. Let's start with the first one, better late than never. Remember, this means it's better to do something late than not at all.
For example, if you miss a deadline but still finish the task, you can say better late than never.
Our second expression is call it a day. This means to stop working for the day.
For instance, after working for hours, you might say, I'm tired. Let's call it a day.
The third expression is catch someone's eye. This means to attract someone's attention.
If you see a beautiful piece of jewelry in a store window, you can say, that necklace caught my eye.
Next, we have cut to the chase. This means to get to the main point quickly.
For example, if someone is talking too much and you want them to get to the main point, you can say, let's cut to the chase.
Our fifth expression is easier said than done. This means something is easy to talk about, but hard to do.
If someone says, just be more confident, you might reply, that's easier said than done.
The sixth expression is get out of hand. This means something becomes difficult to control.
For example, if a small argument turns into a big fight, you can say, the situation got out of hand.
The seventh expression is go back to the drawing board. This means to start over because the current plan isn't working.
If your project doesn't work out, you might say, we need to go back to the drawing board.
And finally, our eighth expression is it's not rocket science. This means something is not very difficult to understand.
If someone is struggling with a simple task, you might say, come on, it's not rocket science.
Now that we've reviewed all 8 expressions, let's listen to one final dialogue where all these expressions are used.
Listen carefully and see if you can hear all 8 expressions.
Hey, did you finish the report?
No, I'm still working on it. Better late than never, right?
True, but don't spend too much time on it. Maybe you should call it a day.
You're right. I'll finish it tomorrow. By the way, did you see the new poster in the hallway? It really caught my eye.
Yes, I saw it too. It's very colorful. Anyway, let's cut to the chase. We need to discuss the budget.
Okay. It's easier said than done, but we need to find a solution.
I know. Last time, the expenses really got out of hand.
Yes, they did. We might need to go back to the drawing board and create a new plan.
Agreed. Let's keep it simple. It's not rocket science after all.
You're right. We can do this.
Perfect. Let's meet tomorrow and finalize everything.
Sounds good. See you tomorrow.
Excellent. In that dialogue, you heard all 8 expressions used naturally in conversation.
Yes, Maria started with better late than never and call it a day. They also mentioned how the new poster caught their eye.
Then they used cut to the chase to get to the main point and said easier said than done and about finding a solution.
They also talked about how expenses got out of hand and needed to go back to the drawing board. Finally, they reminded each other that it's not rocket science.
These expressions are really useful in everyday English, so try to practice them as much as you can.
And remember, practice makes perfect. Use these expressions in your conversations to sound more natural.
We hope you've enjoyed learning these common expressions with us today.
Yes, it's been a lot of fun sharing these with you. Remember, practice is key to mastering these expressions.
That's right. Try to use better late than never, call it a day, catch someone's eye, cut to the chase, easier said than done, get out of hand, go back to the drawing board, and it's not rocket science in your conversation.
The more you practice, the more natural you'll sound. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how we learn.
And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to listen to our podcast every day. We've got lots of great content to help you improve your English.
Yes, make sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any episodes.
And if you liked today's show, give us a like and share it with your friends. It really helps us out and helps more people learn English.
Absolutely. We appreciate your support and love hearing from our listeners. So, feel free to leave us comments and let us know what you think.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope you had as much fun as we did.
Keep practicing, keep learning, and we'll see you next time on Learn English with Podcast.
Goodbye, everyone.